Football fans, buckle up, because the man running the world's biggest sport is facing the most turbulent week of his presidency. And it's happening right in the middle of the World Cup he's supposed to be celebrating. Dozens of lawmakers in Europe are now pushing for an official investigation into FIFA President Gianni Infantino. At the same time, a leaked contract has exposed exactly how much FIFA is spending to protect his public image. Two separate stories, one common thread, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why insiders are calling this the biggest credibility test of Infantino's decade in charge. Let's get into it. Why this story matters. Gianni Infantino isn't just another football administrator. He's the most powerful man in the sport, controlling everything from World Cup hosting rights to disciplinary rulings that can decide which players step onto the pitch. Right now, in the middle of the 2026 World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, his judgment and his relationships are under a microscope like never before. Two things are colliding at once. First, a controversial refereeing decision that critics say was influenced by politics, not football. Second, a leaked commercial contract that shows just how much FIFA is spending to keep Infantino looking good on social media. Stick around, because we're breaking down both stories, what they mean for the man in charge of world football, and what could happen next. Background: who is Gianni Infantino, and why is he under pressure? For those catching up, Infantino has led FIFA since February 2016, when he replaced Sepp Blatter after one of the biggest corruption scandals in sports history. Since then, he's overseen 3 World Cups, Russia in 2018, Qatar in 2022, and now the expanded 2026 tournament across North America. Infantino has built his presidency on close relationships with powerful global leaders. He's been pictured repeatedly with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He accepted Russia's order of friendship from Vladimir Putin around the 2018 World Cup, and in the run-up to this year's tournament, he's developed an unusually public bond with U.S. President Donald Trump. FIFA even opened office space inside Trump Tower in New York. That relationship has already drawn criticism once this year. Back in December 2025, at the World Cup draw held at Washington's Kennedy Center, Infantino presented Trump with the very first FIFA Peace Prize. A watchdog group called Fair Square filed an ethics complaint over that decision, and more than 50 members of the European Parliament wrote to FIFA demanding the ethics committee take it seriously. Infantino's governance record was already being questioned before this month even began. Now, 2 fresh developments have poured gasoline on that fire. Main story 1, the Balogun controversy. Let's start with the incident that's triggered a fresh push for a European Parliament investigation. On July 1st, American striker Folarin Balogun was shown a red card during the United States match against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Under normal FIFA disciplinary rules, that red card should have ruled him out of the US Metis' next fixture, a tournament match against Belgium just days later. Instead, FIFA's disciplinary committee lifted the suspension, clearing Balogun to play. According to reporting from ESPN, that decision came after President Trump personally intervened with Infantino on Balogun's behalf. FIFA's official position is that the lifting of the suspension was purely a decision made by the disciplinary committee, not a political favor. But not everyone is buying that explanation. 3 European lawmakers, Barry Andrews, Lara Wolters, and Niels Fuglsang, released a joint statement calling the mid-tournament rule change a disgrace and a perversion of justice. They argue FIFA surrendered to the demands of the Trump administration, and they're now asking national football associations across the EU to pressure FIFA's own ethics committee into opening a formal investigation. As of this week, 35 members of the European Parliament have signed on to that letter. The core question fans and officials are asking is simple: did political pressure override football's own rulebook in the middle of the sport's biggest tournament? Main story 2, the leaked image contract. While that controversy was unfolding, a completely separate story broke. This one about money, not red cards. According to investigative outlet Josemar, first reported by the French newspaper Le Monde, A leaked contract reveals that FIFA has paid a London-based marketing agency more than £2 million to manage and polish Infantino's public image, primarily on Instagram. The agency, which has previously worked with UEFA, Arsenal, and Harry Kane, was contracted for round-the-clock social media coverage across time zones in Europe and Asia, including dedicated staff to capture Infantino at matches. The deal, signed by FIFA's chief operating officer and its communications director, runs from March 2025 through December 2026. That leak lands alongside another one. Separate leaked U.S. tax documents, also reported by Le Monde, detail Infantino's earnings since taking office, starting at roughly €1.28 million when he was elected in 2016, and climbing significantly since, with his total compensation reportedly rising by around a third in 2023 alone. For an organization that operates as a non-profit, the scale of spending on both salary and personal image management has become a lightning rod for criticism. And there's a third layer to this. In June 2026, former UEFA President Michel Platini filed a criminal complaint in France against both FIFA and Infantino, alleging Infantino orchestrated a campaign to block Platini's own path to the FIFA presidency back in 2016, clearing the way for his own election. FIFA has firmly denied any wrongdoing, and it's important to stress these allegations remain untested in court. Expert analysis: what this means for FIFA. So why does all of this matter beyond the headlines? First, credibility. FIFA has spent years trying to distance itself from the corruption era of the Blatter presidency. A leaked seven-figure image management contract, combined with allegations of political interference in a disciplinary decision, plays directly into fears that the organization hasn't changed as much as it claims. Second, timing. This is all breaking during the actual World Cup, the tournament that's supposed to be Infantino's crowning achievement. Instead of headlines about the football, a chunk of the global conversation is now about governance, ethics complaints, and who's really calling the shots behind the scenes. Third, the political angle carries real competitive implications. If fans and rival federations believe disciplinary rulings can be influenced by a phone call from a head of state, that undermines trust in the sport's most basic promise, a level playing field. Whether or not the ethics committee finds wrongdoing, the perception problem is already here. Finally, there's Infantino's own future. He's expected to seek reappointment when his current term ends in 2027, a term that under FIFA's own reform governance rules could stretch his overall tenure toward the maximum of 12 years allowed. Every controversy that piles up now becomes ammunition for anyone inside FIFA's Congress looking for a reason to challenge him. Fan and media reactions. Reaction across the football world has been sharply divided. Supporters of Infantino's tenure point to the commercial growth of FIFA under his leadership, the successful expansion of the World Cup, and record revenues heading into this tournament. They argue image management contracts are standard practice for any global organization and that disciplinary committees, not the president personally, make individual rulings. Critics, however, see a pattern. Journalists covering FIFA governance have noted that this is far from the first time Infantino's relationships with powerful political figures have raised eyebrows, pointing back to his associations with leaders in Russia, Saudi Arabia, and now the United States. On social media, fans have been especially vocal about the Balogun decision, with many arguing that if the roles were reversed and a smaller footballing nation had asked for the same favor, the outcome would have been very different. European lawmakers, for their part, have been blunt, framing the episode as a test of whether FIFA can genuinely claim political neutrality while its president poses for Peace Prize photos with a sitting president. What's next? So, what should football fans actually watch for going forward? On the disciplinary front, all eyes are on FIFA's ethics committee. If national football associations in the EU follow through on pressure from the 35 signatory lawmakers, a formal investigation into the Balogun ruling, and possibly into the wider pattern of Infantino's relationship with the Trump administration, could be opened in the coming weeks. On the financial and governance front, Expect more scrutiny of FIFA's spending as journalists continue digging into both the 10 Toes media contract and the leaked tax documents. Don't be surprised if FIFA's Finance Committee or member associations start asking pointed questions at upcoming meetings. Meanwhile, the World Cup itself rolls on. Infantino is set to remain highly visible through the tournament's climax, with Trump expected to help present the World Cup trophy at the final on July 19th, a moment that will only intensify the conversation about how closely FIFA's presidency and American politics have become intertwined. And looming over everything is 2027, when Infantino is expected to seek reappointment. Every story like this one becomes part of the case either for or against giving him another term. Closing summary. Let's recap. FIFA President Gianni Infantino is facing pressure on two fronts. A European Parliament push to investigate whether political interference influenced a red card suspension being lifted for U.S. Cementi striker Folarin Balogun, and a leaked contract revealing FIFA's multi-million-pound spending on polishing Infantino's personal image, alongside leaked tax documents detailing his rising salary. Add in a fresh criminal complaint from Michel Platini, and you've got a presidency facing its most serious credibility test in years, right in the middle of the biggest World Cup in history. Will the Ethics Committee actually investigate? Will this affect Infantino's push for reappointment in 2027? We'll be tracking every development as it happens. If you enjoyed today's football update, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest football news from around the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next update.